Director is going to provide some information on the municipal road aid funding.
Yep, thank you. Okay, so what the purpose of this public hearing is to make testament to what the MARF, or the Municipal Aid Road Fund, state-funded money is being spent on for budget year 2022 through 2023. So please bear with me as I go through the list of all the street projects that all the money will be spent on. This year, the MARF funding will be an amount of $288,878. The city capital funding that will also put towards streets will be $2,111,122 for a grand total of $2.5 million. The funding will be spent on the following streets: Sigma Drive, which will be a concrete replacement with new sidewalks for $483,000. Kappa Court, which is a concrete replacement street with new sidewalks for $113,000. Theta Court, which is a concrete replacement street with new sidewalks for $125,000. Jacqueline Drive, which is a simple mill and overlay with new sidewalks, that will be $546,000. Circlewood Drive, which is a mill and overlay, new sidewalks for $342,000. Northway Drive, which is a mill and overlay and new sidewalks for $222,000. Kimberly Drive, which is a mill and overlay with new sidewalks for $203,000. Debbie Lane is a mill and overlay with new sidewalks for $94,000. Minton Drive, which is a mill and overlay and new sidewalks for $105,000. Spire Circle, which is a mill and overlay for $46,000. Summit Ridge Lane, which is a mill and overlay for $22,000. Crestside Court, which is a mill and overlay for $11,000. Pleasure Isle Drive, which is a mill and overlay for $86,000. And Glenna Court, mill and overlay for $13,000. And lastly will be Hillcrest Drive, which is a mill and overlay for $89,000. All those streets, the summation of that is $2.5 million. Does anybody have any questions on our upcoming street improvement project? All right, thank you. That concludes the public hearing.
Good evening. I now call the June 7th, 2022 regular meeting of the City Council to order. This evening's invocation is given by Pastor Raul Maya. I see you in the back with your beautiful little daughter. You just hit the orange button for me.
Good evening, everyone. I've got a Bible verse that I would like to read before we start. It's in James 1:5. It says, "If anyone of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him." So that's my prayer for you all, for everyone this evening. Let us pray. Father, Lord, I thank you for your grace that's abounding, Lord, to all of us, and I thank you for your wisdom. I pray for the city of Erlanger. I pray for the committee, Lord, for mayor and all the team here, Lord, and I pray for every citizen here present. I pray for wisdom, Lord, that you would help us to do your will in our lives and the lives of others, to be of help and to live in unity and to live accordingly, Lord. And I thank you for this time, and we put this meeting in your hands in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Hoffman, if you can please take roll.
Miss Elmore? Present. Mr. Cahill?
Present.
Miss Kyle?
Present.
Mr. Skidmore?
Here.
Mr. Hermes?
Here.
Mr. Doan? Mr. Meyer?
Present.
Miss Skidmore? Miss Nicely?
Present.
Mr. Nipper? Miss Reckers?
Here.
Miss Jasper Lucas?
Thank you. You've received a copy of the minutes for the May 3rd, 2022 regular council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to be made at this time? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt as presented. Ms. Reckers? Ms. Vicky Kyle? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right, you've also received a copy of tonight's agenda. Are there any additions to be made at this time? Okay, seeing, Mr. Hermes?
Mayor, I would just like to ask that we discuss Sycamore Tree Road and the issue that we've been having with the trucks on the road during our unfinished business.
Okay, we'll make sure that we add that. I don't think we really need to change the agenda. Okay. All right, any other additions or corrections to be made at this time? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt as presented. Ms. Kyle, Ms. Elmore, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right, tonight is our first special presentation is our business spotlight. And we have Jeff Grayson and Jennifer Fetters here from Vintage Business Solutions. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us. I appreciate it very much. Appreciate the council, and Mayor Fetty, and Emmy for having us, and all the guests that are here tonight. As Mayor Fetty said, my name is Jeff Grayson, and Jennifer, we both are Erlanger residents. I've raised a family of 4 children here in Erlanger for 28 years, and Jennifer's also raising 4 boys here in Erlanger as well, so we're community-driven. Right after 9/11, 2001, I worked for corporate America, and I was in New York actually the week before 9/11, and then right after that, my partner now in Louisville calls me and said, we need to go into business together, and so we started Vintage Business Solutions in Erlanger, in my basement. And we built it one step at a time, and we're real pleased that this year is our 20-year anniversary with Vintage Business Solutions. So we're very proud of how the business has grown here in the area. We are located on Crescent Springs Pike, right across from St. Vincent de Paul. We're in a building now we've been for 3 years where it has a cool jewelry-looking sign that we redid and repurposed into a printing sign, but it works. We have 7 full-time employees in our location in Erlanger, with approximately 50 employees down at our sister company down in Louisville. Our customer base and what we do, and we're a print distributorship in terms of what our business is, and we do some hybrid manufacturing as well at our facility in Louisville. So we have 7 employees in Louisville and 50 employees with our sister company down in Jefferson County. Our customer base is very diverse. We have accounts that are large. They have locations all over the country and also in Europe, and we also do a lot of business here locally. We do a lot with, if you go to Florence Shaw's, and you'll see a lot of fun stuff that we do for them, as well as here in Erlanger with some of the libraries and other folks as well. In terms of our product mix, we're pretty much solution-based. So really, if you have a need, we will figure out a solution. A lot of it is print management driven, and we'll talk more about that here in a second. Also, we do a lot of direct mail and statement processing for credit unions and banks and people like that. We also do a lot of corporate apparel and promotional items, and Jennifer's going to talk here in a second about that. When we talk about print management, for clients, what we do there is we have online portals with large accounts where they will come onto our site, they will place orders, we warehouse, and we print the different items for them, and we will ship them out. Then we have technology that allows us to set up to receive the orders electronically and also invoice back. So for a company our size, we have a lot of technology that really benefits us, and it's a big reason for the success that we've had in the last 20 years. So we've continued just to really diversify as our industry has changed. So as you know, with the internet and technology, every day something changes in our world, and we've adapted really well to those changes. We also do a lot of wide format things as well, so banners and yard signs and all of that, and that's a busy time for some of you guys up here, and we've done a lot of that over the years as well. But we, again, love being here in Erlanger, and we look forward to continuing to grow. And I'm going to have Jennifer just talk for a couple of minutes about one of our product segments.
I actually just wanted to show some samples, if that's okay. So this is a table tent, custom notebook, water bottle. My favorite recent project is this jacket that we did. It has a patch on the side, embroidery in the front, and then the back has the cityscape. I think it's pretty cool.
So big thing with all of this is, we are great product driven, but in terms of the services and the values, in terms of new hire kits, a lot of times people working at home during COVID, right? We did all kind of kits for folks that we sent to their homes with add specialty items just to kind of help promote company culture during a tough time. And that was a large growth area for us as well. But, we very much appreciate being in Erlanger. As we celebrate our 20 years, we are excited about hopefully being in Erlanger for another 20. So we appreciate your all's time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff and Jennifer. All right, the next special presentation is a really fun one. The City of Erlanger Scholarship recipient is here tonight, and I wanted to see, Margaret Gardner was our recipient from last year. And if you'd like to come to the podium, I know that you want to introduce our new recipient.
Gardner. I'm ecstatic to be able to help them give this award to you, this scholarship. It definitely has changed my life, so I'm very excited to hand it on to you. Katherine Craig is our 2022 recipient. The 2022 City of Erlanger Post-Secondary Scholarship recipient is Katherine Craig. Katherine is a senior at Dixie Heights High School, where she participates in Student Council, Scholars Club, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Random Acts of Kindness, and Student Leadership. Katherine has been on the A honor roll all 4 years of high school. Katherine believes in community service and has volunteered numerous hours at Seven Hills Church, assisting with the child ministry, the Invite team, and Welcome Home. Please join us in congratulating Katherine Craig.
All right. Before we get to the oath of office ceremony, we have the municipal order under legislation.
Yes, Mayor, we have a municipal order of the City Council of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, approving the appointment of Randy Godsey to the office of Fire EMS Chief. It is a position that is vacant due to the resignation of Todd Whitaker.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read? Mr. Hermes, Mrs. Kyle. All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, now it's time. So before we get started, or while they're setting up, I just want to express my gratitude for your dedication to our department. And, you know, I've had a wonderful experience over the past couple of months sitting down with every single one of the firefighters and listening to them explain what a leader you are and what a devoted individual you are and how they look to you as a role model and a beacon of hope and truth in the department. And I can't express to you how much that is appreciated and so greatly needed. So thank you. I, Randy Godsey, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability the office of Fire EMS Chief according to law. And I do solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state nor out of it, nor have I sent a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help me God. Okay, congratulations.
Here. First of all, I'd like to start out by saying thank you to the mayor and council for this opportunity to serve this great city as your fire and EMS chief. I look forward to working with each of you. Thank you to the men and women of our awesome department for your support in years before and into the future. I would like to say a special thanks to my father for instilling in me the importance of being the best I can be. For my family, being here, my sister, brother-in-law. I would also like to say a special thank you to my lovely wife and daughter for love and support from you guys. You know what they say, behind every good man is a good woman keeping him straight, and mine is Danette. In closing, I will share with you something that one of my coaches said to me years ago. He said, Randy, if you truly put your heart into something, the mind and body will follow. Please believe me when I tell you, my heart is in this. Thank you.
All right, we have Mr. Taylor Ballard.
This makes this even better, bringing somebody into the fire service. So this evening, we're going to, Taylor Ballard will be joining our fire and EMS team as our newest firefighter EMT. Taylor is an Erlanger resident and resides in the Sherborne neighborhood with his parents, Jenny and Dana. Taylor also has two sisters, Amanda and Nicole. Taylor participated in Fort Mitchell's internship program prior to coming to Erlanger Fire and EMS. Taylor has been assigned to Red Shift under the leadership of Captain Rick Bull.
I, Taylor Ballard, do solemnly swear to do my duty as a firefighter EMT for the city of Erlanger to the best of my ability, to serve my commanding officers with respect and dignity, to serve the citizens of the city of Erlanger with compassion, courage, and integrity, and to uphold the laws and constitutions of the United States of America, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and the city of Erlanger. So help me God. Thank you. All right. Next special presentation is our proclamations. Our first proclamation is our Juneteenth Proclamation that was requested by a special citizen. To all to whom these presents shall come. Whereas on June 19th, 1865, Major General Gordon Granger announced in Galveston, Texas, the end of the Civil War and slavery. Juneteenth celebrations began the following year in Texas. Community events such as parades, cookouts, prayer gatherings, and historical cultural readings were held to celebrate freedom. As families immigrated from Texas to Kentucky and other parts of the United States, traditions and Juneteenth celebrations carried throughout. Kentucky approved the annual observance of Juneteenth National Freedom Day on March 11, 2005. Encouraging all Kentuckians to recognize the significant roles that African Americans have played in our history. The city of Erlanger joins other cities in the Commonwealth and invites all residents to honor and celebrate Juneteenth National Freedom Day. Now, therefore, I, Jessica Fetty, Mayor of the City of Erlanger, Kenton County, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2022 to be Juneteenth National Freedom Day in Erlanger and do commend this observance to all our citizens given under my hand and the seal of the City of Erlanger on this day, June 7th, 2022. Thank you. We have one last proclamation, and this is a very special one. And it's listed as employee recognition on the agenda because this individual does not know that this is occurring. So is Ralph in the audience? Come on up here, Ralph. So I have had the honor of working with Ralph for the last 3.5 years as mayor and 2 years on council. And he's one of the most dedicated, wonderful individuals that has taken wonderful care of our city. And we thank you. So to all to whom these presents shall come, Ralph Sidner has been with the city of Erlanger since February 23rd, 2001. Throughout his career, Ralph has held many titles of custodian, maintenance worker, and facility service technician. Ralph has served in both the administration and public works department. His camaraderie with fellow employees has earned him the recognition of being an unofficial team member of all the city departments. Ralph's kindness and humor has a major impact on those around him that cannot be replaced. His selflessness and consideration for other people is to be admired. He is a man of integrity, respect, and gratitude. Ralph always makes you feel welcomed, and we never need to ask for anything because he already knows what we need. Ralph is the man behind the scene. He goes above and beyond as a coworker, a friend, whether it be hanging pine cones covered in glitter, serving lunch to residents at a luncheon, or baiting hooks and releasing fish at the fishing derby. Ralph's name was engraved onto the Friendship Garden wall in 2021 to thank him for his dedication and commitment to the city. Ralph deserves much happiness and leisure in his retirement. The city of Erlanger would like to thank him for his friendship and 21 years of service. Now, therefore, I, Jessica Fetty, Mayor of the City of Erlanger, Kenton County, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim June of 2022, the whole month, Ralph, as Ralph Sidner Month in Erlanger, and do commend this observance to all our citizens given under my hand and the seal of the City of Erlanger on this day, June 7th, 2022. Thank you, Ralph.
This may take a little more than 3 minutes. Is that okay? When I first started working here, I was 43, and I just turned 55, so I don't know where you're getting your math from. I really don't. I could stand up here forever thanking everybody, but it'll take too long, so I'm just going to do it by department. I want to thank the fire department for whenever I came over to their facilities, whether it was to do work or to take Lisa to the mail on a rainy day or just to socialize, they made me feel welcome, and I appreciate that. Public Works, I've really been proud to be a part of that department for a few years now. Those guys are hard workers. Some of the best times I've ever had has been working events with them, whether it be summer send-off or Heritage Day or Halloween, Christmas, whatever. They took their job serious, but they had fun, and that's important. That's fun. That's a neat thing. General government, where I was born and raised, where they tell you that if you're around a group of people long enough, you become family, and this is my true family. They are. They are my true brothers and sisters. The police department. When I was first hired, the two people who were interviewing me were told me that my biggest responsibility would be the police department. And I could tell by their expression that they thought they were unloading something on me, that they were getting rid of an albatross around their neck. And I didn't panic. I just took it as a challenge, but since day one, it's been just one of the best things I've ever done in my life. Those are a great group of men and women over there. I could go on and on and on, but that's about as good as I can do. Council, I know that your biggest responsibility is to the city, but you're also responsible for some things for us. and you've done a good job, and I urge you to continue to do that, because they're all great people here that work here. And it's been an honor to work side by side with them. The next thing is hard because it's to Tom Cahill. I can't tell you how much your mom, Kathy, meant to me. I bonded with her right away when I first started working here. And she took me under her wing and treated me like family. And I will truly miss her. All the parks events, I worked with her, the hundreds of them that I did with her. I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I wanted to work next to her. She made it fun and really interesting. And I'll always keep a spot here for her for the rest of my life. And there's one more person who became one of my best friends. And that was my sister, Donna. Who passed away in 2018. There were 6 of us kids growing up, and I was the baby. Of course, the baby gets treated a little bit different. And when my mother passed away in '96, my sister took the reign on of trying to take care of her baby brother, and she did a good job of it. And I know she's here, and I know she's patting me on my back and saying, "Good job, little brother, good job." Thank you. That's all I got.
I also want to thank everybody for being here. Being a part of these recognitions and being a part of these special days is really important, and it unites us as a team and as a city. So thank you so much for being a part of it. We need the comments of those other than council members. I think Mr. Hermes is grabbing that for me. I'm going to just take a moment and pause and let everybody clear out. Hey, Randy. Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and continue. Comments of those other than council members. We have 4 listed here for this evening. Renee Wilson.
I come to thank you for the proclamation, and I also want to make an announcement about our VBS at First Baptist Church in Ellesmere, and we're having our Vacation Bible School starting the 27th through the 30th of this month from 6 to 8 o'clock, and the doors are always open, and we are inviting you to come and enjoy the fun with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Serena Owen.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, all who live and serve in Erlanger. It's great to see you today. And again, thanks for all that you do. First, congratulations to all of our current and past scholarship recipients, and congratulations to all of our graduates. We're really proud of you, and we just pray all the best for you. So congratulations. And have a couple more invitations. Thank you so much for the Juneteenth Proclamation. And there are a couple Juneteenth celebrations here in Northern Kentucky on Saturday, June the 18th. There's one right here in this community at First Baptist Church. So you got the invitation to Vacation Bible School, which is the last week of June. But on June the 18th at First Baptist Church of Ellesmere at 1007 Garvey Avenue in Ellesmere, Kentucky. We're having a Juneteenth celebration that starts off with a parade, and then there's lots of booths and games and fun and food, and everything's free. So that celebration goes from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. And then there's also another Juneteenth celebration that's hosted by the Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission, which will be held in Covington, Kentucky on the same day from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. in Covington at the Lincoln Grant Scholar House. So, and then they're going to have, and that's also sponsored by the, in addition to the Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission, St. Elizabeth is also helping host that Juneteenth celebration. So they're going to have lots of free things, fun, and, and food. So please, join in on the celebration. We invite you all. So again, thank you for all that you do. We appreciate you. And we hope you have a wonderful and awesome summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Marietta Eklund. Marietta. Mm-hmm.
Hello, everybody. My name is Marietta Eklund. I live on Sycamore Tree Lane, the trouble road, the road that everybody's getting trouble from. But anyhow, I represent the people that do not want the road closed. So I did a diagram here of the area we're talking about mostly impacted by the road closure. And I also did a couple of pictures. One picture shows the back of our property. So the street is a hill, our front yard is a hill, and the back is more of a hill. You can't take this, so my notes aren't. My notes are on the back. Okay, so. Okay. When people ask me where do I live, I seldom feel like saying Cherry Hill subdivision. Because when we bought our house, we just came down the old Erlanger Road that everybody was thinking maybe should be closed, and went up Sycamore Tree Lane, 2 homes, turned right, and we were home. So I never even knew there was a front entrance to Cherry Hill subdivision. Actually, to be honest, I didn't even know that where I was living was called Cherry Hill. Nevertheless, my husband restores classic and antique cars, and we were poor, we were newlyweds, and he said he didn't care what kind of house I got as long as it had a 2-car garage. So that was really a problem, to try to find a house in our price range with a 2-car garage. So I did, and it's on a hill. It's on a mountain, actually. So we knew we were buying a home on a hill. When we bought the house, I was always thinking that someone's going to get hurt. Someone could even get killed. And I didn't know that those two things were both going to be in my family. So a picture here that I'll just pass this around after I talk. I fell off of a retaining wall in our backyard and had serious injuries, mostly to the way I looked, but it was pretty bad. So there you go. That was the accident. I didn't die, but our cat died. My husband and I were going out to dinner, and the cat, we called him, he would always come home, didn't come home. So my husband said, don't worry about the cat. The cat can take care of himself. He'll be home when we get home. Well, he wasn't. He was in the street. He had been hit, and he was dead. So there's your death and there's your accident. I like to just tell these stories because I'm trying to let you all know what Sycamore Tree Lane is like, the difficulties of living there, but there are joys as well. Let's see. So we deal with, people on our street deal with the hill. Let's see, a lot of people, oh my gosh, when I put this together, what was I thinking? I can't even understand my writing. Anyhow, I'll just skip that. See, the thing about our house is, it's on a hill, but it's very quiet and it's very private. And nobody would walk up our driveway unintentionally. So nobody comes to our house. We can't even get trick-or-treaters to come. Let's see, we have come to love our home, and we do love the privacy. On this map of the streets, all the homes that are circled in green all have their grass cut by the same gentleman because it's a very difficult thing to do, cut the grass. He actually used to live on Sycamore in her new house. That was his old house. So
I know why he sold it.
she said she knows why he sold it. But anyhow, all these people, and they're all at the end of Sycamore, have their grass cut by the same gentleman. Oh, also, some of the homes I've indicated I have circled with red, and those are people that I know of that are handicapped, elderly, or have medical problems on Sycamore. And I don't know everybody on Sycamore. Believe it or not, it's a long street, and I know the bottom half better than the top half, but, just for an example, there's my house because I'm handicapped, and we have a handicapped lady here and one here. So, we want to minimize our problems and our accessibility for sure. Time, I don't think time's that important, how fast it takes to get there or get out, but, yeah. Closing Sycamore Tree Lane is not well, a lot of us would not like to see happen. We don't really want, what's that called where they play? Yeah, we don't want a park. I was wondering, they were talking about doing a beautifying Cherry Hill subdivision in the front, and I was wondering how much was going to, projected to be spent on that. I would rather see that money be spent on Sycamore Tree Lane, that it used to be called Erlanger Road. It's been changed to persuade the truck drivers from not driving down it. But I think that money could be better spent by preserving the old Erlanger Road.
Marietta,
Yeah.
we have one other individual on the list, and we try to keep these to 3 minutes.
Oh, how long have I been talking?
I'm not sure, but I think it was longer than 3 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just about done. I think it was very interesting, Glenda. She did a project on how many cars actually go down Sycamore Tree Lane or / Erlanger Road. And the council also had a projection of how many cars they thought did. And what they projected and what the actual cars do use that road is way different. And the calculation was only based on one way. So this really, I think, supports the need for the road to remain open. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much.
Miss Jessica, is it too late to add someone to the docket to speak? Or is that time already passed?
We have Glenda is next.
Is there room to add one more person after that?
Sure.
Thank you. Could you add my name on there?
You,
Brittany
yeah.
Nevins.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Glenda Cartwell.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address this meeting of the council concerning the closing of Erlanger Road permanently, which I am against. I have given to all the council members a copy of the police report for the month of April for that stretch of Erlanger Road. A report on Channel 12 early in the month of May, the reporter said that only 300 cars use that road a month. And I immediately knew that was wrong because my daughter and I, that's 2 of us, use that road at least 6 times a day. And you multiply that times the 25 houses that's on the Sycamore tree alone, that comes up to a lot more than 300 cars per month. So on that, you will see that 7,958 cars drove Erlanger Road for the month of April the 1st through April the 30th. That is a official report from the city that I received for counting. So you can see that whatever was reported on the news, it could have been something that he misquoted. However, it was a false report. And then I would like to read you a response that I did receive. All of you should have received an email from me when I copied Mr. Cahill. And one of the council members wrote to me and said, I am happy you reached out, and I am impressed that you did your own research. I will try to make sure we are using accurate data before we make such a drastic change to Sycamore. If we think the traffic count is 300 and the actual count is 26 times that, then we would be doing a huge disservice to the community by shutting down the road. Out of one of your own council members who actually wrote to me to say that. So now you can see that it's more than 26 times 300 cars. Also, I would like to mention several other solutions that some of us here in the Cherry Hill subdivision have asked, and I'm sure you probably have said you've done this. But are the truck drivers and the companies being issued tickets or fines for violating the signs? And why can't the companies change their own directions for their own websites? My son, who works for an IT company here locally, said that is easy enough to do. Also, the semi-drivers that myself and our neighbors have been able to try and speak with, that have made it up into our subdivision, and I know we just had one yesterday, are Spanish-speaking drivers who understand no English, relying only on a GPS. I suggested putting a sign up in Spanish, to which a council member replied that then we would have to have all these other languages, which really, Spanish-speaking drivers are the problem. We need them to be able to read signs correctly. Actually, I thought we need to be more careful with the things that we ask you all to do. If you all would just respond to us what you have tried to do, that would really help us. And there are so many other things that will affect our neighborhood if you close this exit and entrance that I have not even mentioned. But I will certainly hope the council members, the mayor, the police, the fire, all the other emergency vehicles, the public works, they do a more thorough examination of other possibilities before you make a permanent solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Brittany?
Good evening, council members and fellow subdivision homeowners. I do apologize. I will let you know I am very bad at public speaking, and I also get very nervous. I also have never done one of these before, as I grew up in Burlington in a farm. So this is my first time ever communicating on a council such as this. Bear with me, please. There is a lot of issues that we've been going through in our subdivision when it comes to our mountain, as Marietta put it. And I feel like there's things that we're not getting across, or maybe that we're not communicating properly between the members of the community and the actual council themselves. As far as what your goals are, I understand them. I understand wanting to increase not only the community and property values by creating a beautiful space, but also by bringing in more people to our subdivision. I get that. But at the same time, I'm a mother of two. I love my husband dearly, and he's a physical working man. He goes out every day in his giant work truck on that giant hill, which is fine, all during the summer. But as soon as the winter rolls around, what happens? He slides, and I'm not exaggerating. He slides down that hill to get out of our subdivision. What happens to him and the other working men on our street when they can't get out in the winter because you close the road? I don't know every detail of our budget. I don't know every detail of your plans. I won't pretend like I do. But I know what affects me and my family, and I know what affects the other residents of our community. And cutting that off, you're cutting off his livelihood because we can't live there. He has to have that truck for his job. He has worked as a forklift mechanic for 8 years now and doesn't plan on quitting anytime soon. Those tools will always be needed for his job. That truck will always be needed. I know for a fact there are 2 other people on that road that also use heavy vehicles. One has a box truck, the other one has a large construction truck. What are they supposed to do when they can't get to their employment? Are they supposed to write a letter to their job saying, hey, just so you know in advance, there may be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days when it's too icy for me to leave the house. Sorry about that. That's not going to work. That's just not physical. That's not something that we can physically deal with. It's not something that we can muscle through and, hey, let's buy a different truck so we can make it up our hill. Let's put in a ski slope while we're at it. It's not feasible. And I know that's not the only issue here, but that is a big issue for us personally, for the people that physically live on that street. And we're not, as one of my other members said, we are not the only ones that use that street. She did what, one month of documentation, there was over 300 cars up and down the street? That's a lot of traffic. And we've also been told that it's not going to delay our time. Marietta, who was injured, it's not going to delay the response time that she would have received for EMS that literally saved her life. If you look at any medical facility, they will tell you seconds matter. So if you tell me that 8 seconds isn't that big of a deal, I will call you a liar. Because I was not fortunate enough to deliver both my children naturally. I had to have a C-section. And I can tell you that 8 seconds absolutely saves a life. It saved mine. 10 seconds. 10 more seconds of bleeding was all it would have took for me to be gone. 8 seconds is a lot. So when you tell me that it's not going to impact us, it will. Sure, we might go, if we're lucky, another year, another 5 years, another 10 years without any incidents like Marietta's. and be perfectly fine, and your statistic will look great. What if we don't? What if we don't go another week or another month without an incident like that? Is that one death worth closing that road? What are those 8 seconds worth to you? That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
I just want to address this a little bit. We're not closing the road right now, but I do want to let you know that in fall, when they are making the improvements to Houston North going up into the Showcase Cinema property, that road will be closed for a period of time. It's going to be required in order to do the construction. So they'll be widening that road, putting sidewalks in on both sides. So I just want to let you know that is going to happen. There's nothing that we can do about that. And what we wanted to be able to do is use that as a test, see how this works. We're still in data collection and understanding the entire situation. I mean, today, another truck went in and destroyed the boulder, left it in the middle of the road, and that's after yesterday, a truck ran over the boulder, got it stuck up in its axle. So this is an issue. It's a constant issue. So we're still trying to understand, what can we do? Because we know that we have done the signs, we have done the boulders, redirecting with the Google Maps and Apple Maps. We've changed the name of the street. We've changed the turn radius. So we've done a tremendous amount of options, and nothing seems to get them to stop. Now, I understand the idea of signs in different languages, and the idea that it's purely Hispanic-speaking individuals, that is inaccurate. It's any language that you can think of. And I don't think that that's something that we need to focus on, to be honest, because there are pictures of a truck with an X through it. I mean, that's universal, and it's still not being followed. So, I understand the frustration. I understand that it's not what we want to happen, and to be honest with you, it's not what I want to do, and it's going to be the absolute last resort after we have tried every other thing to make this stop. Because we hear you, we understand the frustration and the inconvenience. So just know that nothing is happening right now. We're not making any kind of decision because we're going to try and see how it's going to work when the construction happens. Okay? All right, and that's all public comment. Sir, can you please come to the podium, and you'll need to state your full name?
I'm Mark Williams. The road problem with the trucks, I think a solution would be if they put a height across that road and advertise how high it is. Every truck driver knows exactly how tall his truck is. Get a UPS truck underneath, but not a rig be able to go underneath. Have that going across where you got it narrow there. They don't care about their trailers. They care about their trucks. And this hits their truck. The trailers is what's hitting the rocks. You need to, across the top, they will not go down there. Just a thought.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is the mayor's report. I just wanted to let everybody know that since the resignation of Matt Kramer as our city administrator, we have posted internally the position last Friday, and that will remain posted for 7 days as our policy dictates. I also wanted to let you guys know that with the celebration of the city's 125th anniversary, we wanted to start recognizing those whose names are on the Friendship Garden wall out in front of the city building. These men and women have shown exemplary service above self through dedication and commitment to the city, whether as a volunteer, an employee, or an elected official. So please, if you have an opportunity, take a look at the friendship wall that's out in front of the city building. And then we also are putting an about page on the website. And then we're going to start highlighting one individual either each month or every other month to recognize their service. The first person that's being highlighted is our former fire and EMS chief, Terry Allen. And tomorrow, a detailed write-up of his service to the city of Erlanger will be located on the website and on our social media pages. All right. Ms. Randall, City Administrator's Report.
Good evening. I would like to take a few minutes to discuss one of the items of legislation that you have on your agenda for tonight. You have a resolution to authorize city staff to apply for text amendments to the zoning ordinance. And since we did not have the opportunity to discuss this during last month's caucus meeting, I just wanted to take a few minutes to go through what those changes are and the reasons behind them. Also, keep in mind what we're asking for tonight is for authorization to put forward a text amendment application to Kenton County Planning Commission. So this would be making an application for their consideration. None of these changes would take place unless they go through a first reading and a second reading and an adoption through this council. So no formal decision on this language or changes to the ordinances tonight. Most of these changes are what I would consider housekeeping changes that were needed since this council adopted the new zoning ordinance earlier this year. We've been keeping kind of a list, so to speak, of items that we've noticed that were inadvertently missed or were adopted by mistake through this new zoning ordinance. So many of those are those housekeeping items, but we do have one issue that is time sensitive, which is why we wanted to get this through for consideration on the July Kenton County Planning Commission agenda. So the first one is that time sensitive item. So this first request would be to allow bars or drinking places within breweries. We do have a request for a brewery to be established within our general industrial zone on Kenton lands. And so this would allow, as a part of that brewery operation, for them to have a tap room to serve on site. So that is the first request. The second request would be a housekeeping item to clarify that certain standards within the zoning ordinance that apply for outdoor dining for restaurants, that those standards apply to all outdoor dining, not just outdoor dining when it is adjacent to residential. So that, again, is a housekeeping item that was inadvertently missed through the adoption of the ordinance. Item number 3. This item is a regulatory change from what was originally adopted. What this change would do would be to allow within the mixed-use district, which was formerly the Commonwealth Station Zone. So this building sits within the mixed-use district, as does the property across the street from us. Currently within the zoning ordinance, it is required that a single building or parcel would have multiple uses on it. So by that I mean it would be required to have both residential and commercial, or commercial and office within one parcel or within one building. We do have an opportunity to redevelop a single parcel in that district that currently has one commercial building on it, and they wish to redevelop again as one commercial building with one use on it. So this would, the proposed changes would allow that single use on a single parcel, but still keeping the intent of the mixed-use district as a district that integrates multiple uses. Okay, request Number 4. This, again, is a housekeeping request. Through the adoption of the new ordinance, it was omitted that we have previously always allowed privacy fences in the side and rear yards of properties, both residential and commercial. That was inadvertently omitted when we adopted the new ordinance, so this will be adding that back in so that people can continue to have privacy fences. One additional item within the fence section will be stricken due to it being duplicated within the ordinance. This again, request number 5, is a housekeeping request. This would be to add back language that requires a driveway to be set back at least 1 foot from a neighboring property line. That existed in the previous ordinance and was not included in the new ordinance. So that is to add that language back. All right, request number 6. This again is a housekeeping request. Previously, the Community Commercial District, which is a large portion of our Dixie Highway commercial corridor, had a minimum freestanding sign square footage of 25 square feet. That was inadvertently missed, so we're adding that back into the ordinance. Okay, request number 7. One of the goals of Z21 and the new ordinance was to remove any regulations within the zoning ordinance that might conflict with KRS sections that essentially spell out certain processes to do with zoning. So what this request would do is to remove the language within the ordinance and simply reference the appropriate KRS sections, and this is related to actions of the Board of Adjustment and how they can hear appeals of the zoning administrator's decision. So no really changes in regulation, just simply removing some language and providing reference. This was a recommendation from PDS staff. I would also state that we did, Mr. Stewart and I did coordinate with PDS staff on these, and they provided us some of these housekeeping updates as well. Okay, we are on number 8. Okay, this language was not included when we adopted the Z21 ordinance. However, it was included in the Z21 blueprint that was provided by Planning Commission staff. This is language that would provide some regulation around temporary uses. The language that's being proposed would require a permit for any temporary use that would like to establish for more than 30 days. So those would be uses such as mobile vendors, for example, a mobile food establishment, things like a construction trailer, those things that really are temporary in nature and can serve a purpose within the community. So this language came from the Z21 blueprint that you see before you and establishes standards to permit those uses. All right. Let's see, I think I skipped one. Looking for number 9. Yeah. Am I missing it? Oh, I think it's on down. There we go, right here. Sorry, got lost there on the screen. It's a little hard to see from this angle. Okay, this change is somewhat housekeeping, but also I guess the way I would characterize this one is it's a fix that was perhaps not properly translated between the old ordinance and the new ordinance. So this relates to the Business Park District which is a large portion of Circle Port. In the previous ordinance, that zoning district would allow multifamily, but in a very limited way. It was required that a multifamily would be a small percentage of the acreage within that district. And it was also required that any multifamily could only be proposed as a part of a planned unit development. Now, a planned unit development would allow for council to have additional controls and conditions on such development. So in other words, in the old zoning ordinance, a multifamily could only come into play in a small portion and with some additional conditions being placed on it. When that was translated into the new zoning ordinance, multifamily was added as a permitted use with very little restrictions, which was not truly the intent of what was in the previous ordinance. Therefore, staff is recommending that that be removed as a permitted use within the business park. And then finally, number 10 is regarding the placement of trash receptacles. This is language that was included in this ordinance, that we're regulating where a resident can place a trash receptacle, and we did not intend to do that. So that is removing this language. I'm told there was a lot of discussion about that in the past. So I know that is a lot, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and if there are pieces of this that you just don't want to send the language forward to Planning Commission, we can consider removing them.
Do we want to talk about that now, or we want to wait until new business?
You can just talk about it now if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a ton to throw at us and give us 10 minutes to think about whether we want to go forward with this or not. I mean, that's a lot of stuff. Some of the things that you said were omissions were not. They were very intentional, and there's a number of things in there that we said were just clerical errors or omissions that were very intentional. Extensive discussion about them. You know, I think we took the trash cans piece, the outdoor dining, we spent hours talking about that and intentionally put that in there, so it wasn't an omission, it was very intentional. But my concern about, you know, going forward with this resolution now to approve this text amendment is KCPC is likely not going to, they're going to give it a favorable opinion. I don't think I've ever seen them not give a favorable opinion, maybe once or twice in the 10 years that I've been following them. So I don't think we can rely on them, you know, to really think about these text pieces. I guess my request is that we kick this to the caucus meeting and have some more in-depth discussion around each of the 10 items, so that we're not here for another 45 minutes without the ability to do any research in advance of that as well.
Gary, I agree with you. I just ask you for one thing. If we can strike everything else other than number 1. Number 1 allows the tap room to be within the brewery. This is a time-sensitive situation. We have somebody that is wanting to move forward with a lease, and they want they want us to make this adjustment.
Yeah, even something of that size. I mean, I guess is 30 days going to have a significant impact on the entire project, right? Because that means we would be into the next meeting. I mean, and we're not really even giving council an opportunity to discuss whether that's unless we're going to spend now doing that, whether that's the right thing for that area. We haven't pulled up a map. We haven't looked at exactly where we're talking about. And to ask us to blindly say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, it's not enough time for us to weigh on that. I mean, there's two things where I think where we have significant responsibility. One of them is, deciding what we want to do from a planning and zoning standpoint. The other is the budget. And to try to rush that through with 10 minutes of discussion, it doesn't feel appropriate to me. I mean, no, do I want to lose another business? No, but, rushing through just to make a quick decision, I don't think is prudent.
But it's not making the decision. It's allowing us to go to KCPC and start the process. Then it still has to go through their process, then it has to come back to us for a caucus, then it goes to first reading and second reading. And
I'm very well versed in the process for text and map amendments. But I think, for us, the opportunity to really weigh in is in advance. That's when we really have, the best control.
I hear both sides here. I think I've been on both sides as well. I understand the importance of trying to get the process started, and just knowing that it ultimately still does come back to us. I mean, we still get a chance to talk about this and weigh in, but would allow them to go ahead and start the process if we did as the mayor asked and approved the first item. I don't think there's a whole lot of harm that can come from that, even if we're wrong or if we decide that we don't like that. We'll have chance to, plenty of chances to discuss this more. But I also agree with you, Mr. Meyer. I mean, it is a lot to take in all at once, and it does. It deserves more discussion.
Ms. Kyle?
I basically was going to say the same thing as Mr. Hermes, that, it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and start the process, because we still ultimately have to say yay or nay when it comes back to us, because we don't always have to agree with what they tell us, so we still have that option. And since it is a time-sensitive thing, I would feel comfortable going ahead and applying for it. And then when it comes back, we can say yes or no and say, oh, well, we decided, after discussion that we're not for this. That's just my opinion.
Does anybody else have an opinion on how to move forward? Ms. Reckers?
Are we okay to break it out and authorize the first and not the other at this time, or, okay?
Yeah, I think we've all said it, but all that this resolution intends to do is to allow Ms. Randall to make application to PDS and ultimately KCPC to have a public hearing on whatever issues council is authorizing her to have that public hearing on. So I think she's identified 10 issues, and I think it sounds like council's, might want to limit that to one. Just to remind everyone too on the process, with a text amendment as opposed to a map amendment, we wouldn't be under any shotgun. So a text amendment requires ratification of council, whereas a map amendment automatically happens after 90 days. That is not the case of a text amendment. So, it's going to ultimately take the majority and a blessing of the majority of this council to move forward with whatever KCP's recommendation would be on number one. But to answer your question, yes, you could carve out 2 through 10, and when we read this in legislation, someone could make a motion to amend it just to 1.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Ms. Randall, did you have anything else to add?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, Mr. Gatlin,
Just a couple things, Mayor. The only other legislation tonight is second reading of codification. That's kind of a housekeeping issue. It's just our annual adding the ordinances to what's online with American Legal. And I really want to compliment the clerk in this city for doing that as frequently as they do. There's a lot of cities that don't do that, and you look online and their ordinances haven't been updated online for years and years and years, and you've got to go to their website, and it's not always a friendly form. So Erlanger's really done a good job with that. I think that's really important that residents and taxpayers have the ability to just go online to a friendly form of American Legal and see what's out there. You're smiling at me funny, Mr. Hermes. I'm sorry. That's, all right, that's fine. That's fine. You're smirking. We also have first reading of the budget, and then a resolution related Houston Road and the temporary easements. I don't know if that's something, Ms. Randall, you're going to talk about at that time when we do that legislation. It literally is just a temporary easement that we're granting. Okay, it was talked about. All right. And then one final thing, I would like to add an item to the caucus meeting. Chief Rader and I would like to just discuss maybe tweaking the nuisance ordinance or discussing with council some issues that have arisen with properties that are frequent flyers with the police department, and we don't necessarily have a way to handle that right now, and that's just something that we want to maybe discuss at the next caucus meeting. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, report on capital projects. Mr. Glenn?
All right, thank you. Make it quick. Streets. Woodward is complete. Just going to do some restoration and some punch list items on that. Zeta is going to start on the 13th, I believe. Yep, June 13th. So the contractor that just finished up on the sidewalks on Stevenson Road, which is now complete, will be moving over to Zeta Court on the 13th. So good news on both accounts. Facilities, our Montgomery property is nearly all demoed. So we did all that in-house, and we saved the city nearly $100,000 in doing so. So that will be completed here before the end of the month. And the last thing is parks. So we're continuing on with Silver Lake restrooms. It's going to be close on that. We've got some hang-ups with the trellis manufacturing. That's going to be I'm going to be singing that same song on every project for years to come. Concrete shortages are going to be coming next, and I'm sure I'm going to be talking about the same thing on that. And the phase 2 playground parking lot improvements are ongoing, and that's going on schedule. The playground should be starting here as soon as it dries out. We were hoping to start on that yesterday, but that'll be completed here shortly. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any reports from other department heads this evening? All right. Any reports from task forces? Ms. Reckers?
The Ad Hoc Budget Committee met last Tuesday and have a recommendation, so I'd like to read that. The Council Ad Hoc Budget Committee would like to thank the mayor and the department heads for their hard work and effort in creating the 2022-2023 budget. The attendees included Council members Reckers, Jasper Lucas, Meyer, Skidmore, Cahill, Hermes, Nipper, as well as the mayor and finance director Kramer. During the review process, the committee received and aggregated a list of questions in advance of the meeting, where the director and mayor provided responses. These questions were on the topic of long-term spending, staffing, insurance, public works facility costs, rental agreement costs, beautification costs, newsletter costs, council chamber chair costs, utility variances, parks projects, workman's compensation, and salary information. With these questions and requests for clarification raised from our fellow council members, the Ad Hoc Budget Committee recommended the below-listed changes to be made to the current iteration of the 2022-2023 budget: the removal of council chair replacements, and the reduction and correction of the newsletter postage to align with the bid. So a total of about a little under $6,000 adjustments. Many members of the Ad hoc Budget Committee expressed concerns about long-term spending projections given the current and forecasted economic climate and around the intent to wind down unreserved funds. The committee will plan to revisit the projections with the administration in January 2023. The committee appreciates the partnership and transparency provided by the administration during the budget discussion process. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Hoffman, are there any bids tonight?
Mayor, I did have one on the future of fire task force.
Oh, sure.
We've decided, I think, in the light of the desire to have a definite end for those task force, we're going to end the official task force. At this point, we've just been doing operational learning, which is still okay, and some of that work may still continue. But until there's a specific tangible item for the task force to go work at, that we will wait to that point to reconvene.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Meyer. All right, Ms. Hoffman, are there any bids tonight?
Yes,
Ms. Kramer.
Kara's going to speak.
Good evening. We went out to bid for our audit, and this happened we received bids on March 20th, 2022, and we did receive 2 bids, one from Chamberlain Owen in the amount of $16,000 for the standard audit or $21,000 for a single yellow book audit, and Von Lehman for $18,420, and that's the standard audit, and the yellow book audit would be $20,520. And that, again, that was for the single uniform guidance audit. At this time, we do not have a recommendation. It's been a busy 2.5 weeks, and we want to take a thorough, more look at this just so we can have a recommendation to you guys. So, I will say that these are within budget, though, for next year, so that's a good thing.
Thank you. All right, unfinished business. Mr. Hermes, do you want to talk about Sycamore?
I know a lot's already been discussed this evening, and I don't know that I have a whole lot to add other than what has been discussed and some of the concerns that have come up. However, I did want to make sure that everybody was aware. One of the things that had been discussed, I don't know exactly where it started, but the reading a sign in the audience. That might be a first for me. Thank you. But Mr. Gatlin and the mayor and I believe Chief Rader had been discussing an idea of something that they used in Independence, and that was increasing fines for a specific road. For them, it was the Pelly Bridge that was destroyed by a heavy truck, and they set up a higher than normal fine, $250 or $500 for every truck that pulled down there, despite all the signage and all the efforts that they had made to keep trucks off of the road. Now, one thing that's a little bit different in Independence than it is here is they were able to devote a patrolman to the road for a solid month and fine everybody who came down the road, every truck that came down the road. I don't know that we necessarily have the luxury of doing that, and we would want to make sure that the chief was on board with that before we would try to pass any kind of ordinance like that. At least that would be my preference. But Mr. Gatlin had put together a draft of an ordinance. I had thought about trying to have that added on as a first reading for this evening, in addition, during the portion where we were setting the agenda. However, speaking with Mr. Gatlin before the meeting, it's just not quite ready. We're not quite to that step yet of being able to try to introduce that. And plus, we do try to make sure that we discuss these things in caucus prior to introducing them as an ordinance. So, that is one other option, one other idea. I think it would be certainly wise to try to take every step possible we can before we shut down the road. One of the other items that we have here in front of us is something about Erlanger Road. And it says here, it kind of prompted the thought in my head. It mentions one way only. Do we make it so it's maybe one way out? That's another option. I think there's still plenty to discuss, though, and that's my only point in bringing it up here in unfinished business.
Mr. Cahill?
Yeah, there are a few other things that need to come up too and be discussed also. Mr. Glenn, we're going to be doing a bridge assessment, right, this year, 22, 23? Didn't we see that in the budget? Okay, I think that's going to be very important for us to determine what is the life capacity of the bridge on Erlanger Road. I think that's going to be hugely important. The other thing that we found out during the forum is that these trucks are not only going up Sycamore, they're coming down Queensway, which is part of Boone County Fiscal Court. So I've actually started this discussion with Mr. Erlanger. He's the administrator for the Boone County Fiscal Court, and I think we need to have some partnership in there. I know that Boone County is also looking at improving some of the sidewalks on the roadway on Queensway, and this may be an opportunity for us to help shut these down on both ways, because even if we did something with Erlanger Road, we're still going to have that problem with trucks taking that Queensway Road coming in. I believe that's what caused the damage, was coming in from Queensway, wasn't it? So there's a few more things that we do need to discuss. I definitely think the bridge assessment is going to be very important, and we're going to have our partnership with Boone County. Even though we will be shutting this down for the construction, for the easements and stuff like that, I think these are two things that are being very important, that we need to have that information before we make a final decision on anything. Thank you.
Is there any other unfinished business? Any new business? Mr. Meyer?
Thank you, Mayor. I know we're not really debating the budget tonight, but there are a few pieces that I wanted to get out now. And then, if there's any appetite for having a special meeting next Wednesday, I do have a paper that we could sign to try to do that, to make some amendments. But there's a few things that I just wanted to call out just about this budget. I think there's that phrase where, I guess there's the saying, you can't unring a bell. And I think this is the beginning of that path. One of the things that I've kind of likened this year and next year's budgets to is essentially someone winning the lottery, paying their bills, and buying a bunch of more stuff and thinking they're going to be okay, 2 years down from that. There's two numbers that I wanted to call out just based on the data that we were provided this fiscal year. And this is based on the budget document. I know there's been some additional revenue items, but if we subtracted out the $2.4 million that's in revenues this year, where we've actually overspent our ongoing revenues by $400,000. And when we look at that next year as well, if I subtract $2.4 million out, I am overspending my recurring revenues by $2 million. That's not sustainable. I know that there were some efforts to provide projections that I thought were really a joke, but unfortunately there was no humor intended with them. When in those projections, to make that 5-year forecast look good, there was an anticipated, I think the number was, a 5% increase in expenses, but yet we're still reducing general fund expenses by $1 million. And when I asked, how are we going to get to that $1 million? Essentially, the answer was hope. We hope we're going to find $1 million+ in savings in the 23-24 fiscal year. To me, that's not fiscally prudent to do that. There are, just a number. I have, plenty of additional, things that we could do to really cut things out, to the tune that, and this is, this isn't even looking at, changes to the capital fund. Does it make sense to spend another $80,000 to do a park study when the money's clearly not there to support it ongoing? The capital money might not even be there, within a couple years. If I took if we looked at what this budget says in terms of unrestricted reserves, and I back out the $4.8 million and the $1 million+ in ARPA funds, unrestricted reserves is less than zero after this budget year. To me, that's not what the prior councils have done to put us in a good shape. I mean, we're spending at a rate that we just can't undo. I think last year I mentioned that was the worst budget that I've seen. This one is far worse, and I don't think anybody that truly calls themselves a fiscal conservative could actually support this budget at all. The last numbers that I just want to share when we look at just growth and some of the things that I was looking at, that things that we could cut out, are some of the things that I'll call our vacation training, right? We've got thousands of dollars in here for a KLC conference. I don't know that I've ever seen any value come back to this city from a KLC conference, at least not that's been shared of this is something that we've really gotten from that. A grant and expenditure or some of our grant programs that are great ideas are things that I would look at saying, hey, there might be the opportunity to pull those out. The last thing that I'll share, and I know we talk just around, for me, the number one priority in the entire city is our police department, because we need to have a safe environment where we're living. I did a comparison to the fiscal year 2010-2011 budget, compared that to the recommended budget, and that police department budget is going up 46.7%. Now that sounds like a lot, but that's less than 5% a year, and that's with escalating pension costs. And we must have a police department. When I look at the general government budget, that's going up nearly 90% over that same time period. And as a reminder, Ms. Hoffman is the only position required by statute to be here in the general government. I know there's some other costs that are baked into that, but I think it's disproportionate. We're growing big government here, so again, I have an entire list of items that would account for $1 million in gap without affecting salaries, without affecting headcount. But the only way we're going to get to that $1 million next year is to cut staff, and that's just not something that I can support. Thank you, Mayor.
Am I allowed to respond? So the most recent memo that went out on Friday within Sherry's packet was a memo from Kara Kramer that updated the revenue projections based on her most recent influx of revenue from the county with our payroll. It is now projecting that we will have approximately $800,000 in a surplus of revenue projections. So that's $800,000 over what we anticipated. And then when you consider that we never spend all allocated funds, so in the end, we will once again, in this budget that you referred to as the worst budget you've ever seen, we will have a surplus once again. So what we need to do is make sure that we are projecting our revenues as closely as we can, and we've tried to make steps in that direction, and doing the audits of our businesses and understanding where the payroll is coming from, and making sure that we're getting all of the payroll that is required of them to contribute. So to be honest, I disagree with you strongly, and that's okay. We're allowed to disagree. Any other new business? Ms. Reckers?
I have a statement to read. Jennifer Jasper Lucas was unable to be here tonight, and she asked me to read a statement. I'm sorry I cannot be here in person this evening for our meeting and for our first reading of the budget ordinance. I tested positive for COVID, and I'm still in quarantine. I have asked Councilwoman Reckers to share this statement in my absence. I'm not requesting any changes to the proposed budget. I've already shared my concerns regarding unnecessary spending. I do have concerns with the future revenue projections and the plan to draw down the city's unreserved funds to balance the budget. I'm not opposed to using some of the unreserved funds, but I would like to have more than just what the KRS recommends as a minimum in reserves and in unreserved. I also want to see an analysis of the revenue impact that a withdrawal of a major industry or business would play into Erlanger's revenue. I don't want the city to be put in a position in the future where we have to raise taxes because we don't plan accordingly and where our extra funds have been spent on things that were not absolutely necessary. We must remain financially vigilant, particularly during unnecessary economic times. Thank you, Jennifer Jasper Lucas.
Mr. Dunn?
Yeah, I'd like to call a farmers market task force meeting for June 16th at 5 p.m.
Okay, so that's a Thursday. And do you want it held in council chambers or in small council chambers?
We've got small council chambers reserved already.
Okay, great. All right, Sherry, you'll be able to do the notice? Okay, thank you. Any other new business? Okay, all right. Legislation.
All right, we have an ordinance as the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, approving and adopting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances of the city. This is a supplement which will be supplementing ordinances through number 2533. So everything through number 2533 will become a part of American Legal. This is a second reading. I'm sorry, the online format of American Legal.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt as presented? Ms. Kyle, Ms. Nicely? Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hermes?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Skidmore? Ms. Kyle?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Doan?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Nicely?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Reckers?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Elmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Motion carried.
All right, next, make sure I do it in the right order. Somehow I've gotten out of order here. Next, we have an ordinance of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, adopting a budget for the City of Erlanger for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2022, and providing that no money shall be expended by or on behalf of the City of Erlanger except in accordance with that adopted budget. You can see attached the Exhibit A, which shows the revenues and expenditures. This is a first reading.
Okay, I ask that the city clerk please note the minutes, in the minutes, the first reading of this ordinance.
All right, next we have the municipal road aid funding. This is a resolution adopting and approving the execution of a municipal aid co-op program contract between the City of Erlanger and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Department of Rural and Municipal Aid for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022, as provided in the Kentucky Revised Statutes, and accepting all streets referred to therein as being streets that are a part of the incorporated city. This is necessary to receive our apportionment of road fund, which for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022, is in the amount of $400,905.19.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read? Mrs. Elmore, Mrs. Kyle, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, next we have a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute all documents needed to grant the Commonwealth of Kentucky a temporary easement for the extension of Houston Road to Cinema property. The city shall be receiving $24,825 for this temporary easement, and again, it is a temporary easement related to the construction of the extension of Houston Road.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this resolution as read? Ms. Reckers, Ms. Nicely. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Before I read this next resolution, are there any motions?
Mrs. Kyle.
I move that we apply this to only the one text amendment. The first one, the very first one.
Okay, I need a second. Ms. Reckers. Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
All right, we have a resolution sponsoring a text amendment. As was discussed, this is a resolution authorizing Ms. Randall to apply for KCPC to have a hearing to allow bars or drinking places as an accessory to an associated brewery use.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this resolution as read? Mr. Doan, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right, are there any announcements this evening? Okay. Do I entertain a motion that we adjourn? Mrs. Elmore, Mrs. Reckers. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Have a good evening.